Hi, welcome to the One-on-One Educational Services Limited IPO Prospectus Review. So we're going to, this prospectus was released July 29th, just a couple of days ago. So what we're going to do here, as we normally do on L.E.A.R.N, Grow, Invest, is go through the prospectus. We're going to do it at a high level. So I'm going to break down very shortly all the different videos and content that we're going to have to cover this IPO, because what we've realized in the past, we'd have done maybe one large video, 90 minutes or 120 minutes. We've heard from persons that those videos are too long. So we've kind of broken it out for you. So this video is going to be the prospectus review. We're going to look at everything at a high level, but give you everything that you need to know to understand what the company is offering and, you know, just everything that you'd need to know surrounding the offer. Then we're going to have other videos to go through and dig deep into the financials. And we're going to have an interview with the CEO, L.E.A.R.N, on Thursday. So we have a lot of things that are planned for you. So I'm going to talk about them a little bit more later, but let us get started right now.
Learning is the key to successful investing. And who doesn't want to invest in some way?
Here at L.E.A.R.N, Grow, Invest, we focus on financial education, all with the aim of sharing our knowledge on personal finance, investing, and building wealth. We do this on the foundation of our faith in God.
If a more holistic approach is what you need, check out our Grow Faith-based financial coaching program.
Find out more about us at learngrowinvestclub.com
and follow us on all social media platforms at L.E.A.R.N, Grow, Invest.
All right, welcome back. So the first thing I want you to do, guys who are here, please take a moment to like the video. Like the video, like the video, like the video. Please, I really do appreciate it. Share the video with your socials. Share it on your social media platforms. I'm sure there are a lot of persons who would be interested in learning about this offer. So let's get as many persons involved as we can. So I'm going to open in prayer. Thank you, Lord, for this day. Thank you, Lord, that we have the ability to learn, grow, and invest together. Bless us as a community. Give us knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. All right. So I'm seeing some questions in the chat already. What I'm going to do, we have a Q&A section at the end. So all of your questions about where will the IPO be available, you know, all the details you'd want to know about the company, just place them in the comments. I'll just highlight them and get to as much of them as I can at the end. Let me know where you're joining from. If this is your first time, welcome. Let me get my screen shared here. So before I go into the content, I have to let you know that this prospectus review is sponsored by JMMB Moneyline. The link to the platform is in the description of this video. So if you are looking for a platform to be able to do your trading on the Jamaica stock market, the JMMB Moneyline is a platform that you should consider. Right. I'll also say that anything that I discuss here is for education, entertainment, and illustrative purposes only, and should not be construed as professional financial advice, solicitation, or recommendation to buy or sell any securities, especially one-on-one educational services, which is the main focus of this video. I am not a licensed financial advisor as at the point of this video. All right. So what we're going to do, we're going to cover 5 main areas here in our prospectus review. We're going to talk about the company history, and it's a lot of information to cover, right? So we're going to give you a good background about the company. Everything that I'm going to cover here today is in the prospectus. I have not sourced any piece of information that is not within the prospectus. And I believe that's important for you to understand that when you go through the prospectus, you'll see the same information that I'm sharing with you here. Next, we're going to look at the offer details, how many shares are made available, what are the different pools that are available, and the subscription price. Next, we're going to look at an overview of the financials, just the highlights for the purposes of this video, because we're going to try and keep this video under an hour. Next, we're going to talk about the dividend policy. And then finally, we're going to close up with how to apply and then take your questions. So in terms of the financials, we're going to have an in-depth financial review this Wednesday, where we're going to dig deep, look at the year-over-year growth, look at some of the ratios in depth, etc. All right, so you can stay tuned for that this Wednesday. And I think I have this here as well. So today, you're seeing the prospectus review. Wednesday, we have the financials review, and Thursday, we have the interview with Ricardo Allen. So those are videos that you should check the links on our channel, turn on notifications for them so you can be notified when they are released, okay? All right, so let's go into the company history first. So one-on-one, for those who are not familiar, and interestingly enough, there are a few persons who might have said they haven't heard about the company before. So they were founded in 2013, and it says here, you know, that they have long-term deals with the region's leading telecom provider Flow and the Caribbean examination body, that's CXC, over the past few years. Their partnerships with these organizations have helped them to empower more than 1 million Caribbean nationals to learn and take their exams online, laying the foundation for rapid skills acquisition for a number of subject areas and business skills. And I took this information from their website. It says also that they provide personalized online learning solutions to over 150,000 learners across the Caribbean, and their leading solutions cover all stages of the educational journey, from secondary education to employee training in enterprises. So that's giving you some insight as to their target market: schools, professionals. They also have government customers. We're going to break those down very soon. Their clients benefit from their e-learning courses, online training, instructional design services, and expert tutors and trainers. People in over 10 Caribbean countries use their solutions to simplify learning and development. So you're learning a lot about the company here. I do have their website as well that you can go to for more information. So this is it here. I'll leave the link in the description of the video, so you can get more information about the company on their website. Okay. So the slide that you're seeing here, it may be a little small for you, but it's in the prospectus, as I said. This would have been a timeline for the company from inception till now. So they were started in 2013. Then they would have developed their first set of courses for Scotia Insurance. That's in 2013 here. Then they would have moved on to 2014 to raise capital of 12 million. That's what you're seeing to the bottom left here. Next, they started to they had a partnership with Flow here. CNW acquired franchise for 5 years. That's what you're seeing there. They got some venture capital from the Sagicor Sigma Fund. That would have been in 2015. In 2016, they would have launched something called Flow Study Standard. They would have gotten $50 million in a DBJ deal. And I mean, of course, there are other things here that I'm not mentioning, like, you know, the awards that they've won, etc. So I'm just going to focus on the business side, and those kind of things we'll talk about a little bit more when we speak to Ricardo on Thursdays, some of the awards they've won, etc. In 2017, they would have secured a deal with the Ministry of Education to create Go Study online platform for 180 schools in Jamaica for their CSEC preparation. That's a big deal right there. They would have also secured their first corporate client to set up and install their learning management system to train their employees, right? So this would have been what I imagine is the start of their business services, right? In 2018, they would have partnered with Flow for Hurricane Initiative here to enable over 1 million Caribbean nationals in 5 countries who were affected by Hurricane Maria to be prepared for their exams, right? So next, we have in 2019, there is $40 million in Series B funding. Next, they were able to secure some partnerships with Open Sesame, EDX, and Atlantic Training to bring an array of industry standard courses to the Caribbean. I'm definitely interested in learning more about this partnership. So this is one of the things I'm going to be asking Ricardo on Thursday. Then in 2020, that would have been the year that the pandemic started, they partnered with the Ministry of Education and Bahamas to offer virtual school platform during COVID-19. And they would have onboarded 16 new professional institutions onto their one-on-one Excel platform to offer their courses online. And then last year, they would have partnered with the Ministry of Education to create a summer program where they're able to provide extra lessons to over 10,000 students. These are just some of the highlights. I think I would have seen something about a summer program this year for them as well. So I think they would have continued that program that they started last year. These are just some of the highlights. Let's move on. This is their company structure. So we have the board of directors at the top. We have the CEO, that's Ricardo Allen. They have a research and development team with their CTO, Chief Technology Officer. They have a head of cloud, head of engineering. That's on the R&D side. And then on the CEO side, there's a special business development executive. I'd love to hear what that person's role is. It's listed here. They have a commercial analyst, legal intern. Then they have some services that are outsourced. So their payroll, audit, any secretarial services, those are outsourced. That's what you're seeing on the left here. And then other members of the team are listed here. And if you go through the prospectus, that I've listed some of the key roles that are there, give you a background and overview of those persons, history, etc. All right. So this, what we're talking about now, are looking at now, are their different divisions. So there are 4 key divisions, and what I'm going to talk about here are just some of the services that are included for that division, right? And as I said, all of this information is on their website as well. So you have one-on-one for students. So it's saying here that it's currently in the beta stages of what is called 1X, with an anticipated launch of later this year, that's Q3 this year, which aims to connect teachers and students at various levels of learning, including kindergarten to grade 12 for a fee, right? So that's one. You have one-on-one for professionals, that's trainers and professionals here. This product will connect professionals to the appropriate trainers and courses in an easy-to-use, personalized learning platform, and will be launched in September 2022. One-on-one will provide their online learning platform to trainers and training organizations to develop, manage, market, and sell their courses to their customers, both new and old, fully online and across the globe. So what it says to me, if, for example, Learn, Grow, Invest wanted to put its courses on this online learning platform, then we'll be able to put the courses there, and our community members can purchase those courses and access them through One-on-One's platform. Next, we have One-on-One Business. So this is their business-to-business division. So we have One-on-One online learning platform for business. So this is a learning solution that is designed for enterprises of various sizes, which will generate a skill acquisition plan by assigning courses to focus on areas of deficiency. So what it sounds to me is like something that maybe takes a look at the existing skill set, and it may recommend courses. So for example, it may say to me, here are some soft skills training that you can do. Here is a training on maybe public speaking to help you with your videos, etc., whatever. Next, they have the e-learning content development that designs and develops e-learning solutions using innovative approaches to learning. Now so one of the things they mentioned in the prospectus is they wanted to develop things like machine learning. I wonder if that's that's one of the things that's going to be leveraged for this. But of course, we can get more insight within the prospectus. We'll see more information there when we go through it, right? Next, we have one-on-one content licensing. This is considered an off-the-shelf product. So they are offering over 20,000 localized courses in 14 languages to help organizations improve employee knowledge and performance, retain and develop talent, and guide efforts in achieving globally recognized compliance, financial performance, and organizational excellence. So this would be ready-made courses that you could just order or get access to. I'm not sure if this is going to be a subscription model. It seems like it would make sense to be that. I'm not sure. Would probably have to find out from them. But this is something that will be available in 14 languages, which tells me they're likely to be marketing this to multiple countries, right? Then we have one-on-one for enterprise, and they have what's called a private label online learning platform. This system provides a ready-made, fully tested learning management system that is supported by the company and is customized to the client's unique needs for their own branding. So again, using the example of Learn, Grow, Invest, if we wanted to create or have our own system, so we can have it done and branded Learn, Grow, Invest, but it would be one-on-one's platform that is operating in the background, right? So this product allows clients to focus on their own brand and services without having to invest time to build out a solution from scratch. So that's that service there. And finally, we have one-on-one for governments. You have their Educational Management Information System, that's EMIS. So the open EMIS solution is specifically designed to assist developing countries digitize their education systems and all related core processes. The software incorporates a learning management system to provide virtual learning in addition to education sector management. So I figure that would be maybe through some partnerships with maybe Ministry of Education and things like that. Then they have the Classroom in a Box. I actually have some more information about that on the next slide. Classroom in a Box is an offline, self-contained, cloud-enabled e-learning platform that can simplify delivery of digitized content to schools and students everywhere. So essentially, if you think about those communities that do not have internet access, you will be able to use a device and connect your students to be able to either consume courses or content or whatever is needed within that classroom or learning environment. So it's more details here. So this is one of the things that they'll be, this I imagine is their only physical product. So if you do see any inventory on their balance sheet at some point, that's probably gonna be these units here. I'm not sure how many they're investing in to start. Again, that seems like one of the questions that we can definitely ask Ricardo on Thursday. All right, so that's a Classroom in a Box. All right, so that's the company history. A lot of information, a lot of things to understand there. But you get the idea that the company has been around for almost 10 years. They have some distinct markets that they're targeting for their products and services. And at its core, though, they provide services and they have an e-learning platform that businesses, students, governments can leverage. All right. Let's move on to the offer details. Let me remove my image again here. So authorized ordinary shares is going to be 100 billion. Issued shares prior to invitation is 1.5 billion. Shares to be issued during the invitation is 380 million. That means the total shares outstanding is going to be 1.9 billion at the end of it. But the authorized ordinary shares just means they're allowed to issue up to that amount, right? So up to 100 billion is what they're allowed to issue. But currently shares outstanding is going to be 1.9 billion. In terms of the offer itself now, how those are split up, they have a convertible loan. That's 108 million shares. That's going to be converted at a rate of 80 cents per share. They have key strategic partners, and I'm going to go through the definitions when I get into the prospectus. I'll probably just jump over there and do that now. But apart from this one here at the top, every other share pool is going to be $1, right? So key partners, 60 million. Sagicor Reserve, 30 million. Teachers and trainers, that's going to be 30 million shares available. Employee reserve, that's 30 million. That would be employees of one-on-one. And then non-reserve, that's public. This is where we would be interested in. That's 121,250,000. Right. So in terms of shares available for the public to purchase, it's 121 million. And of course, based on the history of IPOs that we've seen, it's safe to assume that it's likely going to be oversubscribed. Of course, we don't know what the future holds. But when you think of the number of shares that have been applied for just recently with the dollar IPO. We saw what 4.5 billion oversubscribed. So I mean, I think it's safe to say you can, expect a similar outcome there. But of course, again, we have to see what happens there. So let me go to the prospectus and kind of explain some of those key pools. I think persons may have those questions. Let me just find them and just highlight them. So first we mentioned the convertible loan reserve share pool. That means up to 108,750,000 shares in the IPO that are reserved for the lenders, with 36,250,000 shares being reserved for the Sagicor Life Jamaica Limited and 72.5 million being reserved for Panjam Investments Limited. All right. Then we have the employees reserve pool that consists of employees who have been employed with the company prior to the date of the prospectus. We have key strategic partners here. That would be stakeholders and supporters of the company that the company has determined at its sole discretion to be key and germane to its operations and/or this initial public offer, such as major customers as well as its professional advisors and consultants retained to facilitate the IPO and its business operations on an ongoing basis. All right. Lenders here, we may talk about that later. That's Panjam Investments Limited. And that would have been a loan agreement dated September 25th, 2020 of 58 million, inclusive of interest, and Sagicor Life Jamaica Limited as managing agent for the Sagicor Global Sigma Funds being the lender under the loan agreement dated October 5th, 2020 in the amount of 29 million, inclusive of interest. All right, so we have the non-reserve shares. That would be the shares available for subscription in the invitation less the reserve shares. Okay. And the non-reserve pool, that's known as a public pool. That would be up to 121,250,000 shares, and save and accept in the event of an oversubscription of reserve shares. Let me see, in terms of opening date, we'll get to that soon. Let me see if there's anything else it's worth noting here. I believe it's a teacher's pool that I want to get a definition for. Sagicor Reserve Pool, I think that's pretty straightforward. Yes, so the teachers and trainers reserve pool, that would be those teachers who are members of the Jamaica Teachers Association as at the date of the prospectus, and those independent contractors who provide training services via the company's services platforms to use the company's clients as at the date of the prospectus. All right. So if you are eligible for any of those pools, then you can take advantage of the offer if you see fit. Okay, I think I can go back to the slides for now. All right. Any questions there, just let me know in the chat. I'll get to the questions as soon as I can. So in terms of date of the prospectus, it was released on Friday evening, that's July 29th. Opening date is August 12th. Now that does give you 11 more days from the point of this video, but what you want to do is the offer is actually already available on the Sagicor e-Invest platform. I'm going to share that with you here. So this is the Sagicor e-Invest platform. You're seeing it available here, which means you can apply before the opening date, because if interested, it's not recommended that you wait until the opening date. All right. The closing date is scheduled for August 19th at 4:30 p.m. Now, if all of the shares are taken up, then the company does have the ability to close the offer early. So that's why I would have said if you're interested, then you want to apply as soon as possible. In terms of how you can apply, it's a minimum of 1,000 shares with increments of 100 shares each. So like, 1,100, 1,200, 10,000, anything that is divisible by 100, right? With starting with a minimum of 1,000. The price is $1, and you saw all of the pools that we showed before. It's there, so it's $1 per share. In terms of some dates, we always get these questions. When will they hear the basis of allotment? So let's say that it works with the closing date of August 19th, then the basis of allotment will be announced 6 business days after August 19th. So this does not include the weekends. So 6 days after. Refunds would be issued 10 days after the closing date. It didn't say business days here. So 10 days after the closing date was when is when refunds, if any, will be issued to those who would have applied. And the listing of shares is no more than 5 business days after approval by the Jamaica Stock Exchange. And typically, we don't know when that approval date is given, but we'll normally see something that says the listing date is X date. So you can normally stay tuned to the Jamaica Stock Exchange's page to say when it will be listing. All right, so in terms of use of proceeds, let's talk about that for a little bit. So they've made it very clear and straightforward here. So as at the date of the prospectus, it is the company's intention to use the proceeds to further capitalize on the accelerated demand for their services across the region. So in this case, they're not using the proceeds to clear debt, right? They're using it to essentially put into their business to grow. So the first thing that they're going to do is invest in next generation learning content for new and existing markets. Next, they want to invest in their adaptive learning technology using machine learning and artificial intelligence ideas to personalize learning. And finally, they want to increase working capital reserves, right? So that's the focus as to why they're raising the money. When we look at their balance sheet, we'll see their debt position. And so they're pretty much using the money to try to grow their business. And then they had some further comments there. It says this will allow us to continue our rapid expansion and increase market share through optimization of their technology and human resources in order to continue to deliver value for individuals, companies, and government whilst increasing revenue and growing profits. We're actually going to be looking at their 3-year forecast. I must say that the prospectus has a lot of information. I really, really do appreciate that we get such an abundance of information. It's always a good thing. It's saying here they may use a portion of the net proceeds to acquire complementary businesses. I found that very interesting. Products, services, or technologies. But the prospectus did say at the point of the prospectus they didn't have any in mind. But what they're doing here, and I thought it was important that they left that note there to let us know that should there be a potential for acquisition using the proceeds of the IPO, they may just take advantage of that. And it says, of course, as with most offers that are out, they're going to be using part of the proceeds to pay for the expenses of the invitation, which is expected not to exceed $30 million. All right, so we spoke about the offer details. Let's look at the financial highlights now. So what we have here is their income statement. You're seeing it for the last 5 years. Again, we're going to have a full financial review. So we're just going to be sharing the highlights here, but we're going to dig deep into the financials this Wednesday here on our YouTube channel. All right, so we saw in 2017, this was 5 years ago, they had sales of 27 million. Fast forward to FY 2021, they had 268 million. So that's significant growth from 2017 till now. We saw a big surge in revenue starting with 2020, the year of the pandemic. So that's definitely a good sign. Direct cost would have grown for, well, let me focus on the last year for direct cost. Direct cost for 2021 was 43 million. Which led to a gross profit of 225 million for last year. Other income would have been 2.1 million. And on Wednesday, I'll be able to check the notes to see if they give us the details for other income. I think the MD&A might allude to it, but I'm not sure just yet. I didn't read it in its entirety at this point yet. Then we have admin and general expenses. For 2021, it was 144 million. Now, as usual, we like to dig into the expenses to understand where the money is going. So this is something that we're going to be circling and looking into for our analysis on Wednesday. So we look into that. So they had an operating profit. So they started in 2017 with an operating loss of 15 million, but last year they had operating profit of 82 million. And then they would have had their finance costs, then they showed their pre-tax profit or loss, negative in 2017, positive 68 million in 2021, and the net profit for last year was 67 million. So the company is profitable. Would have seen a loss for 2017 and 2019, but they were able to turn things around for 2020 and 2021. Of course, I'd want to understand what specifically changed that led to this growth, because this would be about 400% growth in revenue. So I'd definitely be asking Ricardo about this on Thursday. But that's the income statement. Next, we have the balance sheet. So this shows a company's essentially their assets, liabilities, and equity. So this is their net worth that we're looking at pretty much. So we're starting with the assets. So assets, and because it's a technology company, most of their assets are going to be intangible. That's what you're seeing here. So property, plant, and equipment is going to be a small fraction, and that's why that number is small. So that's 5.6 million. And you'd have seen in intangible assets, those are their platforms, any maybe cloud-based services, any asset that you can't physically touch. It's 139 million, growing from 37 million 5 years ago. And then let's see, due from directors, 14 million. Inventory, so remember I mentioned they may have at least a number showing on their balance sheet for inventory that would have grown. So I figured from 2020, maybe when they would have invested in their classroom in a box, that maybe would have led to the growth in inventory, because before 2019, you didn't see a high inventory number, but it has grown for the past 2 years. Trade and other receivables, this is money owed from customers. We definitely want to be able to understand the status for this number. So trade and other receivables, this is money that customers owe them. So when we go into the analysis on Wednesday, we'll see the notes that they have on this. Usually this number will be showing those that are maybe 90 days or less, but I want to see what their statement says specifically. You want to, because they work with government customers, then you're likely going to have some credit being there. So I would be doing, let's actually go back here. So we have revenue being 268 million for 2021 and receivables being 114. So that's not quite half, but almost there. So we have to, I guess, try to determine the health of their receivables and try to determine if there's any risk there. Cash and cash balances ending last year was 37 million. That's what we're seeing there. So total assets will be 326 million. All right. In terms of liabilities, their preference shares valued at 5 million. Long-term loans and convertible promissory notes, that's 115 million at the end of last financial year. Deferred tax liability of 12 million. In terms of non-current liabilities, well, current liabilities, no. So current portion of long-term loans, that's the loans that they're repaying, would be 4 million for 2021. And we'll be able to see their 9-month statement, and we'll be able to see how those numbers are looking for the current year. Trade and other payables here, 63 million. Bank overdraft of just 89,000. So total liabilities here would be 226 million. All right, this is their cash flow statement. This is definitely one of the things we'll be looking at a little further on Wednesday as well. We spoke about the years that they would have had the losses, that's 2017 and 2019. So their net profit coming into 2021, coming into 2022 was 67 million here. So they've had an adjustment here to reconcile net profit to net cash used. So net cash provided by operating activities was 20 million. Cash outflows from investing activities, so investing in their platform, investing in other things. So would have spent about 65 million there. So that's what you're seeing here. Let's move on to the next part because I had to split the screenshot in two. So we have cash flows from financing activities, so lease payments, proceeds from long-term loans, etc. I'm not going to go in depth in these, so let me just scroll forward. So net cash provided by financing activities, 58 million. And that's mostly due to the loan that, well, convertible notes that would have been issued here, 75 million. And then net cash, well, closing cash balance of 37 million. We saw that on the balance sheet earlier. And then bank overdraft would have been that 89,000 that we see there. All right, so let's look at their key ratios now. So I'll just speak about here how they are trending. Again, this is a prospectus overview. We're keeping this high level, so we're just going to do an overview of it. But on Wednesday, we're going to spend a little bit more time on it. In terms of current ratio, that's trending in the right direction. That's now 1.94, up from 0.06. Quick ratio, that's after you remove inventory from the equation. That's 1.78 times. That means you're able to cover their liabilities 1.78 times with assets. Free cash flow is 41 million at the end of 2021. Total debt, we're seeing here 119 million. Debt to equity would have been negative 0.98 times in 2017 and is now 1.19. So that would have, you'd have seen the difference there. Debt to assets is now 0.37. Debt to earnings before interest, taxes, and depreciation is 1.44 as at this point, moving from a -4 5 years ago. Net profit margin was negative 105%. Now it's 25% as at last year. So for the years that weren't negative, it would have been 38 and 39%. So this 25 here would have worked as what operating profit margin is 30% for the last year, and then return on asset is 20.63%, coming from a negative 68% 5 years ago. Return on equity is now 67%, coming from 52%. And then earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization is 83 million. All right. In terms of their 9-month statement, so their 9 months ended May 31st. We're able to get some insight into those numbers. I really appreciate that they have this here. So they're showing it in comparison to 2021 9 months. So we would have seen growth in the 9 months for 2021. So they're already positioned to exceed what they would have done last year. Direct cost is 11 million as opposed to 34 million. I believe what the notes said here is that they would have made an investment in your classroom in a box in 2021 that was a one-off cost, so that would have reduced here. Gross profit is 182 million, up from 123. That's definitely trending in the right direction. Other income is 9 million. So they had operating profit for 2022, just the 9 months, of 59 million. Their admin and general expenses here are 132. I'm definitely going to be looking at the expenses to see how they are trending. I want to understand where most of that money is going. That's what I'll be doing on Wednesday. Finance costs of 10 million, pre-tax profits. One of the benefits they'll have on listing and on the junior market is they'll get a 100% tax break for the first 5 years, and then I believe 50% and 25%. Always mix it up. David, if you're in the chat, you can let me know the details, but they're going to be benefiting from a tax break by listing on the junior market. So I believe for the reports going into next year, you'll start seeing that difference for the taxation line here. which means if all things being equal, following the growth trend that they're on, they should be able to realize more profit. What they're showing here essentially is that for the 9 months in 2022, they're at almost 3 times the profit that they would have had for the same period for 2021. So what you should be looking at this to say is that they're going to likely exceed what they did for last year. And if you go back to the overview that we had here, in terms of revenue, they're at 192 million already for revenues for 2022 9 months, right? So that's what we're seeing here. Well, 194, sorry. What they do have, and I'm happy that they gave us this, is a projection for the 12 months. So last year was 268. What we're seeing here is 334. So they're projecting to do 140 million for the quarter, June to August 31st. So what they're shaping up to do based on their projections, so bear in mind projections, we have to wait to see if it actually gets there. But what they're saying is that they're projecting to have gross profit of 306 million. Expenses would have been 194. So just for this quarter alone, you're gonna see about 62 million of expenses. Again, I'd love to see more details into those expenses, so we'll be looking at them this Wednesday. So they're shaping up to do profit of 93 million. So what I'm going to be doing is using this figure to calculate what their dividend will be based on their dividend policy. We're going to cover that in a few slides. All right. So this would be interesting to see. So this should be reported probably within the next 2 months, maybe 3 months at most. So we'll see whether or not they'll be on track to what they're doing here. So it will be very interesting to see. We have some other information here. So they had their average revenue per user. I think this was excellent for them to share. So for their EMIS, that's $14 US per annum per user. One for students would have been 21 US. So per annum mean that's what their students are paying per year to use their platform or to get the services. One for professionals, $12.50 US. Excel for teams, $45 US per year, and the white label solution, $21 per year. So if you want to be able to also show it in the prospectus, the potential market size. So if you want to do a projection of growth for those numbers using these business lines, you can multiply them and get an idea as to what their revenues will potentially look like going forward. But as I said, we do have projections for the next 3 years, and they're doing estimates here for the FX rate, the inflation rate. So these things would have to be equal, of course, for them to meet the targets that they're projecting to meet. We know inflation is one of those things that we have to watch closely. And then salary growth, something that they're projecting, and full-time employees, they're projecting to have in a few years up to 92 full-time employees. So this is their 3-year projected earnings. Hopefully you can see it, but they're expecting to do 334 million this year. So they're projecting growth of almost 100 million, or maybe close to 30, maybe 25 to 30% going into the following year. So they're projecting 433 million. And then for year 2, in terms of projections, 575 million. And in year 3, 662 million. Now, for me personally, projections are projections. So you want to see, how the current year ends, how the quarters are going, and then you'll see whether or not they're able to meet these projections. So personally, I'm not going to put much emphasis into the projections, but one of the things I'd be interested in finding out is what they see as being the main catalysts or drivers for this revenue growth. So that would be one of the questions that I'd be interested in learning from Ricardo on Thursday. Which business lines are they predicting to grow, and at what pace to get to these numbers? That's what I'd be interested in finding out. And of course, if you have revenue, you have to have cost of goods sold, and then gross profit. So what they're projecting is net income margin of 32% growth going into next year, then 28%, then 27%. So they're projecting, I guess, what they would be considered to be modest projections in terms of growth. So it's really no for us to say 1 year from now how this is shaping up. So and based on how the business, based on how the divisions are growing, whether or not you think they're able to attain these targets going into the future. All right. And they also listed their material contracts as at this date. So these are some of the contracts they have in place and when they expire. So it would be interesting to see them provide this information, maybe going into the annual report for 2022, because a lot of these expired this year. A few of them expired this year. So we'd want to know if those continue and the value of them. I think it would be good to see the value of the contract. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if that is for maybe the privacy of the customer, why those details aren't shared. But I'd love to know, for example, how much this makes up in terms of current revenues, etc. Right? But it's still good to see some of the partnerships that they have in place. And what you're seeing to the bottom of the screen is the debt arrangement. Let me remove my video again. So DBNG and Sagicor long-term loan, 7 years starting in 2019. Sagicor credit line, short-term loan, that was 1st of March this year for 1 year, so that expires next year. And loan convertible from lenders for 24 months. And I believe this is some of what's going to be converted to shares, right? So this debt is going to be converted to shares, and so is likely to come off the books as well going forward. All right, a lot of information there. If you have questions, let me know, but that's a financial overview. Again, for those, if you're just joining us, we're going to do a full review of the financials this Wednesday. So let's look at their dividend policy now. So it says the directors anticipate a payment of an annual dividend of up to 25% their annual profits after tax, where such profits are available for distribution and subject to the company's need for reinvestment of some or all of its profits from time to time in order to finance its further growth and development. So their projected profits for 2022 is 93 million. So assuming that they make that amount, they're paying up to 25%. So 25% of this 93 million would be 23 million. The number of shares outstanding after the offer is going to be 1.9 billion. So I have estimated here because it has not happened yet, right? So the estimated dividend per share based on these projected numbers would be 1 cent per share, right? So based on the number of shares that you have, you multiply that by the dividend. That's your expected dividend. Now, based on well, dividends are never guaranteed. So that's something you want to bear in mind. So there's always this caveat that is going to be subject to the company's need for reinvestment. Of course, based on their cash position. So cash is going to play a heavy role as to whether or not they're able to pay dividend. So I think I'll look at their balance sheet a little bit more on Wednesday to still talk about. So David Rose will be joining me on Wednesday. We'll talk about whether or not how feasible a dividend payment is. All right. So usually it's something that you want to, if you want a company that's positioned and poised for growth, to reinvest in the company, because if they're paying out money in dividends, then that's less money that they'll have to reinvest in the business and fuel their growth. But of course, that's something that we can always ask Ricardo when he joins us on Thursday. All right, so let's talk about how to apply, and then I'll take any questions that are in the chat. So how to apply? You can use the Sagicor eInvest platform. Now, you go to, it says from your device, go to einvest.sagicor.com. So I would have shared that earlier. So that's right here. You can sign up. So you can click on this to sign up. It's a little, I don't know if you can see it. Let me zoom in. There's a sign up button right here. And as I said, the offer is already on the platform. So you can apply right now. So you go ahead and sign up, follow the steps to sign up. Let me go back to the details here. So it says on the Invest homepage, sign up, enter your personal details and password. Check the first box if you're older than 18. Once you've signed up, then a verification request will be emailed to you. And then you'll click on verify email, then you'll be redirected to the login screen, re-enter the password, and then you'll be able to log in. So what I'm going to try and do a video for you is go through the application process. So I'll try to do that sometime this week and just post the video on maybe our Instagram or something. So please go ahead and follow us over Instagram. I'm going to try and post a video there. It also says here that the approved payment method currently is manager's check, cleared funds held in your Sagicor investment accounts, and then or transfer or direct deposit to Sagicor investments, and details will have been set out in the appendix of the prospectus. Now, usually this is how it starts. You will likely see in a few days, maybe platforms like Moneyline, other brokers being able to offer it. Because we have 12 days to the open date, I would say if you would prefer to wait a couple of days to find out whether or not it's going to be available at your broker, if you're not currently with Sagicor, that's what I would wait to find out, to see at least to the end of this week, because at least the information should be out by then, since the opening date is 2 Fridays from now. So you could do that and see whether or not it's so. The usual suspects, we normally see it on Moneyline, we normally see it for other platforms as well, but it depends on the arrangement, so it's not guaranteed. So I would also be signing up on the Sagicor platform to ensure that just in case it's not available at my desired broker, then I can apply through Sagicor. But of course, this could be an opportunity to open a Sagicor investments account if you don't currently have one. So it's for you to make that decision. So that's how you'd be able to apply. Let me go back to the slides for now. I'm not sure what else I have left. Okay, just a reminder here before we take questions, we do have the financials review on Wednesday. Then we have the interview with Ricardo on Thursday. So definitely come back for those videos. I'm also going to ask you, if you've been watching and you're getting value from this video, please give the video a like. It greatly helps our channel. All right. Okay, so let me take some questions now. Let me scroll through. So I'm going to go from the top to see if there's anything I missed. So again, before I take questions, I want to let you know that this review is sponsored by JMMB Moneyline. The link to access their platform is in the description of this video. Okay. All right, let's take some questions. So L.E.A.R.N is saying, hopefully I'm pronouncing your name right, by the way, hoping to see it on JMMB Moneyline tomorrow. I'm not sure if you'd see it as soon as tomorrow. I would say give it until Thursday or Friday of this week. But we'll normally try and find out in the Telegram group for you if you should expect to see it on those platforms. All right, Xavier is saying that hopes that he can get all his shares this time to purchase and not only a fraction. So look at it this way, Xavier. There are 121 million shares available to the public. Dollar was over 4 billion. So when you say get all your shares, it depends on how much you apply for. Just bear that in mind, okay? Will NCB offer this? I would reach out to your advisor at NCB and find out. Bear in mind, if you ask them tomorrow, it may be too early for them to confirm. You may want to wait till Thursday or Friday. Yep, I agree, Anna. Great lineup for this week. I think we have some good videos coming out. Good evening, Lorna. Was trying to sift through the prospectus. So would have covered use of funds. So they're using funds pretty much to expand and grow their business. They're not paying off any debt. They're just using it to give them working capital and to fuel the growth of their business. Ramon is saying, found it interesting that the iCreate CEO is a member of the board. I wonder if that means future merger or partnership. Well, Tyrone has been a member of the board since the inception of the company, right? So what I understand, no, I'm not 100% sure, but I think there's already some partnership there where iCreate may be using One-on-One's platform. I'll try to confirm that, but that is what I suspect. Orville is saying, hope I'm taking notes around ideas. Listen, I'm always taking notes, Orville. Learn, Grow, Invest. We are a ways away from listing. Let's just say that. So be patient with us there. Trevor Williams, welcome. So, I mean, small quantities. So L.E.A.R.N is saying that they keep killing us with these small quantities. I mean, that's kind of the pattern that we have seen. So you know, you've heard me personally say I wish we had more shares available. But just bear this in mind, you can purchase the shares when they list. Now, I know a lot of people say, well, you're not going to get IPO price, but you're investing for the future of the company, right? So even if the price is not $1 a few days after listing, you're investing for the future, right? So bear that in mind. Lauren is asking, can a secondary account holder who is a teacher and a JTA member buy shares on an account that has a primary? So that is an interesting question, because if the teacher is the secondary account holder, that's a very, very interesting question. Can you post that in the Telegram group, Lorna, and let's ask Ricardo? I'm not sure. I'd like to say that once the person is on the account, secondary or not, they should be able to apply. That would make sense to me, but I don't know. Let's say I'm a teacher with an NCB account holder. Okay, so what it says in terms of the teacher pool, you have to be registered with the JTA. So once a teacher is registered with the JTA, I figure they'll have your TRN number, and I'm guessing that they're going to be matching that TRN with the TRN for the account at NCB Capital Markets. So the only way you can apply currently is Sagicor E-Invest. I imagine this may change over the next few days, but you want to have a plan. If you plan to apply, you want to be prepared to use that platform. If it is that you're with another broker and they don't make an announcement that you can use that other platform. Justin is asking, will teachers who are not a member? I don't think so, right? If you're not a member of JTA or any of the other pools, like the key partners pool, for example, then I would say no. If you're a teacher not registered with JTA, but you work with One-on-One in some way, you may be a part of that key partners pool. I'm not sure. So that teacher would have to ask them and see. But usually if you're a part of some reserved pool of some kind, you would probably know before the prospectus is out. Maybe in a few, Edifocal seems to be a good acquisition target. I wouldn't think so, because the amount you pay to acquire a company is going to be based on what the company is valued. Look at Edifocal's value in terms of market cap. I don't know if One-on-One would see it. I don't. Well, to me that would make sense. But you know, I wouldn't be. I wouldn't know. To me, that doesn't necessarily seem like it would make sense. To me. Will retired teachers qualify for shares? Interesting question. If there's anybody from One-on-One watching and you can answer that question, let me know. Will retired teachers qualify? Again, that would be a perfect question to ask in our Telegram group for Ricardo to answer. Marvin saying government takes way too long to pay. That may be a risk for the company's receivables. So that's one of the things that I'm interested to see, because so anytime a company has receivables that are considered a large fraction of their overall revenue, you definitely want to understand the health of those receivables. Now, if you're providing a service, there's going to be some credit given. You can't really escape that in a service-based business, but the health of the receivables are going to be very important. So I expect there will be some commentary on it in the notes. So I'll go through them in preparation for Wednesday and we'll talk about that. All right, so Trevor, I think you got the name of the company already. A Limitless Podcast, as an edtech company, they likely won't be able to pay a high dividend for a long time. I agree, right? So I wouldn't be investing in this company and treating it as a dividend stock, right? Because that yield is likely to be very low. So even if they do pay a dividend, look at Fesco's dividend, right? So you want to understand that you're not to treat this as a dividend stock. It doesn't mean they won't pay a dividend, but it's not going to be, I think, on the higher end of dividend payments. So based on this question that Limitless Podcast has, when is the one-on-one trainers and professionals program starting? There was something in the prospectus that I wanted to highlight. They gave us this excellent, they broke down each product, each division, and stated what they were projecting in terms of business. I definitely want to include it. Thank you so much for reminding me. See if I can cover it in a few minutes here. Trying to find it. Yep. So let me share my screen. I'll focus on the one-on-one for professionals. Okay, all right. I'll pause there. So question that you've asked, one-on-one for professionals, you're seeing that on the right-hand side. It's going to be launched March 1st, 2023, all right? The projected earnings is US 300,000. That's about 35 million, maybe closer to 40 million, 41 million thereabout. So that growth prospects, they have it as very high. So they have these breakdown for the different divisions and how they're projecting it to grow over the next year. So I thought that was very, very meaningful. So a percentage of the cost for each course sold by the trainer. That's it here, one-on-one for students. That's B2C. Earning model is a fee for each hour of tutoring booked and an annual membership fee. And we saw that breakdown before. They're projecting 660,000 US. That's maybe about 80 to 100 million Jamaican dollars. Growth prospects are very high for that. You have the one-on-one for team. They're projecting 35,000 US in terms of earnings. So earnings as a percentage of revenue is going to be 2%, 1%. So these are on the lower end in terms of the makeup of revenue. But so that would be one-on-one for content development. They charge a fee based on the level of customization. And the company here for the one-on-one for teams, the company licenses software and off-the-shelf content for an annual fee, right? So these are going to be on the lower end in terms of revenue makeup as a percentage for 2021, but for 2023 they're projecting 220,000 and 450,000 respectively. Right, so this gives you some insight as to how they see that makeup for the 2023 revenues that we had gone through. In terms of the white label solution, they're projecting, the actual earning for 2021 was 205,000. They're projected for 2023 is 375,000. Growth prospects is stable, which means it's probably likely going to perform similar to how it's done in previous years. And a big bet here is the one-on-one for education, which is US 500,000 for 2023. And it says see below here. So earnings on development fees from current deals have matured and future revenues from current agreements will be largely service fees for hosting, maintenance, and support, right? So hopefully that helps. And I think the final one here is one-on-one for offline learning solutions. And that is projected to be US 150,000. And then the growth prospects here, they'll be switching to a recurring revenue model for that one, right? So I thought that was very, very useful to see. And they would have shared the student population in Jamaica, which gives us an understanding as to what their total addressable market is. So from grades 4 to 13, 486,000 potential students. And school enrollment rates, that's the numbers that you're seeing here. then they would have shown now, so the one for professional, those numbers, so the labor force, 1.3 million, that's showing you the potential in terms of market. If they're able to get, for example, 10% to the market or 5% to the market, then you can translate that by the average revenue for that segment, and then you'll see what you could be looking at there. And then this is the licensing model for the LMS for teams, and this is the price. So I really love this breakout. This gives us an understanding as to what they could potentially make per segment here. Okay. Yep. Okay. All right. So let me minimize that again. Let me go back to the questions. Right. So hopefully that helped you. Limitless podcast. Yes, they did. Right. I went through that already. Any idea if my Barita investor would have my JCD number? I was looking at this. Okay, so your JCD number, if you have access to JTrader or you've ever received a statement from your broker, your JCD number is, your JSCD number is going to be there. Marvin, if they cannot say the value of the contracts, it would be good if they can rate. Yeah, I think that would be good as well, to maybe show the percentage of the overall revenue or something to that effect. But I guess this is something we can ask them. Daniel is asking, what do I personally think of this opportunity? The first thing I'm going to say is speak to your licensed financial advisor. What I think of the company, so I usually focus on the company and not the stock itself, whether or not the stock would be a good opportunity or not. In terms of the company, I really love everything that I've seen about the company, their makeup, their history in terms of how they've been able to grow the company. They've kind of built out multiple divisions that I think they're going to try to grow each segment to kind of stand on its own, which is good. They have existing relationships with multiple countries, which is good. They have existing relationships with like Sagicor, with Flow, with the government. Those are things that bode well for them. And you know, in terms of what they have in terms of the makeup of the company, the board of directors, the team that they've assembled, I think those are all good things for them. So it's really now down to execution, right? I think they have a great opportunity. I'm curious personally to see how they try to leverage machine learning and AI, because it's one of those things that, being in the tech space myself, companies use those as buzzwords all the time, but they don't actually leverage it in a meaningful way. So I'm curious to see how they intend to do that. I know I'd be willing to, I know that's one of the things I'm interested in seeing, right? Because that's how they said that they're going to use a portion of the proceeds. So what would that look like? Is it going to be, what would the learning experience be for the users? How much is it going to increase their revenues? Those are the things I'd want to see. But in terms of core business, the core business is profitable. And so that's good to see. So they were profitable before 2020, which is good. And in 2020 seemed to have been where things would have taken off. Well, actually, let me go back to the financials here. They actually made a loss in 2019, right? So I'm looking at the numbers here. So for 2020 and 2021, so what I'd want to understand here, and this is one of the questions that I'm going to ask Ricardo on Thursday, again, what would have led to that revenue growth from 2019 to 2020? And of course, naturally, we're going to want to ask, are those revenues sustainable, right? So hopefully, Daniel, that's helpful in terms of whether or not this is a good investment for you. You want to speak to your licensed financial advisor. I'm definitely not the best person to answer that question. So yeah, hopefully that helps. Chantel is asking what percentage subscription of each Caribbean nation for the products they are offering. Very good question. Somebody type this question in the Telegram group. I'd love to ask Ricardo. I don't think that information is available. I know they put in Bahamas, for example, I think they did 11,000 or 15,000 students earlier this year. But in terms of like revenue per country or breakdown per country, let me try and go through the prospectus to see if I see that. I don't believe I saw anything breaking down revenue by country. Let me see here. If anybody saw that information when they were reading the prospectus, that would be very good to see. I'm going to do a quick check of the notes to see. I don't think they have a revenue breakdown by country, but that would be good to know, right? But what I will say here, Chantel, based on what the company does, the Caribbean is not their only potential in terms of market, because they have a platform that can likely serve customers outside of the Caribbean, right? So I'll just say that for now, but that would be an excellent question to ask Ricardo. So what if you're overseas? How would that work out in terms of application? So how that would work if you're overseas, you would still be able to apply just the same, right? Because you're applying online. Now, if you're overseas, of course, you can't carry in a manager's check, but you can do, I think, a bank transfer or wire transfer, etc. All right. Hopefully that helps. Paul is saying you should want it to be competitive. If you get all your shares, that means there's not a lot to demand. Exactly. If you get all of the shares you apply for, that's not usually a good sign, right? In terms of demand, at least initially anyway. All right. Andrew is saying great overview. Thank you, Andrew. What do you think the maximum allotment will be? I don't know, right? Because we don't know. We don't know. Very, very hard to say. Very hard to say. DeAndre is saying in the LGI chat, mentioned that one earned 60 million revenue from the classroom in a box device. When did I say that? I'm wondering if it's when I was listening to an interview with Ricardo over the weekend, and I think I might have put that. I'm going to try and find that information for you. Yeah, I'm going to try and find it because I overheard it. I would not have read it in the prospectus at that time. So I'd have to look into that for you, DeAndre, to be able to confirm. All right. Jojo is saying you've indicated that you would have to have a Sagicor investment first to apply. Does that matter? Oh, actually, you'd have to have a Sagicor e-invest account. That doesn't necessarily mean a Sagicor broker account. You can use your JSCD number, which can go to any broker to apply, right? Sorry for that. I think that's how it works. Thank you, Everton. Thank you for watching. Hopefully you liked the video. Do I know if the JTA membership has to be renewed every year? Not to my knowledge. If there are any teachers on that can answer that, let me know. But to my knowledge, no. To my knowledge, no. What's a Telegram group link? Hold on, let me share that. Telegram group link. I'm sharing it in the chat now. Telegram. I just share that link, Zem. Based on what I'm seeing so far, is this a buy-rated IPO asking for a friend? I think you know that I can't answer that question, right? How do you find if you're an active member of the JTA? Reach out to the JTA. That's what I do. I'd speak to them to find out. Is anyone else having issues with the e-invest platform? So I haven't tried yet. So I may test out the platform, like maybe a small application or something, just to ensure that it works. Not seeing the account to process the buy through. I'm gonna try to. There are persons from Sagicor in our Telegram group that can offer support. So ask the questions in the group, and we'll see if we can get you some answers. They also give an early date for teachers and professionals, earlier in the prospectus, not the March date. Can you give me some more context of what you're talking about here, Limitless Podcast? Let me see if I can find that. What does a conversion price of 80 cents mean? So let me go back to that. So what it means essentially is that I think it was 108 million shares. They were converted at a price of 80 cents, right? So what that means is it would be almost like the persons who would have given them that loan, they're getting a share conversion rate of 80 cents as opposed to $1. So essentially means you're able to get shares at a lower price. Okay, the JCD number is, I think it's a 6-digit number. Let me see if I can find mine. If you have JTrader access, Daniel, that's that number in JTrader. If you've ever gotten a statement from your broker or from when you signed up for your account, I think it's a 5 or 6-digit number. Would LGI partner with one-on-one to make our investment class streamlined? Definitely. If that is something that we're able to do at some point, I think that would work. We are actually looking for those opportunities now as a community. So yeah, that's something worth exploring. Would LGI partner with one-on-one for our investment class? Definitely, if they're open to it. We're actually seeking sponsorship for our next investment class right now. So if there's anyone who would be interested in partner with us, we have free investment classes that come every quarter. The next one is September 3rd. We currently don't have a sponsor or a partner. So for example, that is something worth exploring. But what I'm not sure of Limitless Podcast is whether or not these things can be worked out that quickly, because the next class is September 3rd. Of course, with the team having to focus on the IPO, etc., I'm not sure if those things would be feasible to work out for the next class. But of course, if there are opportunities to partner, we always take advantage of them. But it takes two to partner. So we haven't had that conversation. Are we interested? I'd say yes, we definitely want to explore those. But in general, we seek opportunities to partner once they exist. And yeah, that's just who we are. All right. Who is your biggest competitor? Paper Plate, I actually don't see them as having competition based on what they do. But that is something we could ask Ricardo on Thursday who they see their competition as being. But I kind of consider them in a class by themselves. I know the most obvious comparison is going to be Edufocal in terms of listed company. And then maybe I create in some way, but I consider I create Edufocal and one-on-one to be, like, I see them as three distinct companies. I don't necessarily see them comparable in that way. Giovanni, we're not sure, right? Maybe tag JMMB and ask them. I'll try to get that information and see. But usually it is something that comes up on Moneyline for every single offer, so we'll see. Limitless Podcast is saying you bought into Caprit IPO and got all of your shares, now it's dropping. Thank you for explaining why. Yeah, I mean, usually if you're able to get all your shares, it means that, so if everybody got all the shares they applied for, it means at least in the first week that the shares list, everybody would have had everything that they asked for. There's not going to be any more demand, but if you apply and maybe you get a small percentage of shares, then you'd want to add to that position after the company list. I feel like you know that already, Limitless Podcast. I feel like you know it. On page 31, I said one-on-one for trainers would be launched on September. Okay, let me look for that. Hold on. Page 31. Hopefully, I'm going to wrap up this in 10 minutes, guys. Page 31. Oh, okay. So it does say that. Let me share my screen. So it's saying here that one-on-one for trainers will be September 2022. So I don't know if it means that's when the platform will be available. The breakdown that we looked at would have, let me try and find that one. This says expected launch date 2023 here. So there's a little bit of a discrepancy there because this is one-on-one for professionals. So you have March 1, 2023 here, and then you have September. So the one-on-one for students is what's launching in September. This one says March 1, 2023. So that's something that we can ask them about. All right, so Ramon says, if you are currently a teacher with JTA, then your membership fee is deducted from your monthly salary. No need to renew once you're keeping up with your payment. Thank you, perfect. Thank you for that response. Yes, a Limitless podcast, that is a discrepancy there, so we'll need to verify from them when it's actually launching. Jermaine, thank you so much for the feedback. Hopefully you liked the video as well. All right, so also understand what an IPO, and they kept on upsizing, postponing the date. So we had an interview with Kevin Richards. I'd recommend that you watch that. So what Capri did was an IPO. This is an IPO, completely different situation, different dynamics gonna be at play, different market response as well. So I'd bear that in mind. Okay. All right, guys. I think I've answered all your questions. Thank you, Limitless Podcast. I actually tried to do this one a little bit more concise to make more room for questions. Hopefully you guys liked it. So please show your support by liking the video. That greatly helps us. Share it with your investment friends and colleagues, persons who, what we try to do is get as many persons involved in investing as possible. So, you know, sharing this video with them, telling them about the offer, encouraging persons to invest is something that we try to do, and we encourage you to do. Point persons to our channel, have them watch our investment for beginners video, get them started, you know, tell them to join our Telegram group, and let's just help as many persons as we can learn investing and become investors. Thanks, Ayana. Really, really appreciate the feedback. Clean, great review. Thank you, Paul. Great. So Limitless Podcast, of course, you see the name, guys. You can check out their podcast. I listened to an episode. Very, very good stuff. So check out their podcast. I don't know who is speaking here, but share the link, share a comment under the video to the Limitless Podcast. Share a link underneath, and I'll pin it, right? Our Telegram group has really helped you. Thank you so much. Greatly, greatly appreciate that. Glad to see that you're getting value from it. All right, guys, thank you so much. Remember, we have 2 more videos coming up this week. One on Wednesday where we're going through the financials, because of course, you don't want to make an investment decision unless you go through the financials. So we're going to do that this Wednesday. Then we're going to speak to the CEO, Ricardo Allen, on Thursday. We're going to have an IG Live tomorrow, which we'll talk about how to read a prospectus, right? If this is your very first IPO, you want to understand where to focus on for the prospectus. It's over 100 pages. You don't need to read everything to be able to make a decision on the company. So there are certain key areas that we'll focus on that you should read first. And then if you want additional information, where you can go. All right. Uncle Barry saying thank you. You are very welcome. Thank you guys so much. Thank you for being here. I really, really hope to see you guys on Wednesday. And as many questions as you have, tag us on Twitter, tag us on IG, any platform really. But mainly we want you to go to Telegram, ask your questions there so we can answer as much of them as we can. Right? I'll see you in the next video.
Learning is the key to successful investing. And who doesn't want to invest in some way?
Here at L.E.A.R.N Invest, we focus on financial education, all with the aim of sharing our knowledge on personal finance, investing, and building wealth. We do this on the foundation of our faith in God.
If a more holistic approach is what you need, check out our Grow Faith-based financial coaching program.
Find out more about us at learngrowinvestclub.com
and follow us on all social media platforms at L.E.A.R.N Grow